Anyway, I don't think we should worry about it too much. That doesn't seem like a very hot Sunday thing to do. The process has been useful. The topics are, I think, exactly what we want to cover. I just don't know if we want to just unstructure things even further to the point of like just hanging with the boys. I don't know. I'm
very pro hanging with the boys, to be fair. I don't think we're necessarily given to structure.
I mean, from my perspective, like, very much hanging with the boys, A-okay. And, like, the kind of structure that you've put on there feels like it's straightforward and loose enough that we can talk about anything. So,
yes,
like, yeah.
I've kept it vague.
Yeah, precisely.
But let's just kick it with the boys. I've been having a great weekend in the sun so far. I'm about to go on my holiday. Not next week. No. So I'm at work next week, but then I'll be off. And got myself some weed yesterday, so it's like my period of holiday. I'm going to maximise all of my enjoyment for the next like 2 to 3 weeks.
Excellent.
I'm just going to be like fuzzy or just lying in Spain.
How long are you in Spain for?
8 days, but one of them is we've sacrificed to the fact that we didn't want to have to get up at sort of like 5 o'clock in the morning to go to fly. I was like, why don't we fly mid-afternoon so we can have breakfast and everything and then go?
Absolutely. And then I'm very proud.
We just booked an extra night, so we'll arrive in Malaga about 9:30. And I've already booked a cab, and the cab is like a transfer, so it's going to be like an hour from the airport. But he's going to turn up with like one of the little plaques with my name on it. I always like that at the airport.
That's so cute.
It like makes you feel special when there's
very much the VIP.
Yeah, the last time anything like that happened was like when I used to fly, when I used to go places when I worked for the legal firm, because they'd obviously have the hookup. Some version of Addison Lee would be coming and getting me from like wherever I landed, and that was like legal firm rich, whereby a car would come and pick me up. I mean, a Mercedes Benz came and picked me up at like just before 4 a.m, and I went out in my suit, but I wasn't wearing a tie, so I kind of looked like Tom Cruise from Collateral. And I had a briefcase, and so as I was channeling on the outside, I had aviators. I was channeling like Tom Cruise from Collateral, but on the inside, I was channeling Gary from Men Behaving Badly when Dorothy asked to look in his briefcase, and I had like a illustrated Terry Pratchett book, and sort of like the equivalent of like Fizzy Fish or whatever like the sweets were. As famously in that episode, she says like, "Fizzy Fish, Gary."
I only know of Addison Lee because of the Notes song about Addison Lee. I've never seen one in real life. So
I think they're a London thing, to be honest.
Okay. Is it just fancy Uber?
It's just like, it's not quite like Uber. They operate more like an ordinary cab company, really. It's like you phone up like a mini cab, only they're obviously plugged into like a wider kind of network. There's some sort of minimum standard for like the cars and shit. And you have like an account with them, and your business can have an account with them. So it is essentially, I guess it's like the John Lewis of minicabs.
Okay.
Because John Lewis is on that next level up from your everyday man. But it's not like when you get richer and richer, there's clearly many levels above John Lewis. But John Lewis, there was like an illustrated band of like, I guess like consumer class or whatever. Like John Lewis is kind of like at that top before you start breaking into, I don't need to know what it's called. I don't need to shop at websites that list prices. So like John Lewis is like, it's the top of the bottom, if you get what I mean.
It's like a department store still, where they let you in without an appointment.
Yes, but it does have like fancy or at least more expensive things from there. Mm-hmm. And I think culturally, in the pantheon of retail stores, if you think you've got Primark, I was going to say C&A then, but they got crushed a long time ago. But your general sort of, I was going to say Debenhams as well, but they're gone. Yeah, I just think that John Lewis are kind of like up there before you then start to get places where I have no business being.
Yes.
John Lewis is the level where you can like throw it about a bit and make yourself feel like a bad boy, but really you're not.
Yeah, you can have more money than your average working class man, but you're still a John Lewis.
but you're still down there with them. Let's make no mistake. Just to obviously add a dash of class analysis into everything, even when we try and do nerd shit. They will rise up and take back the
John Lewis.
The John Lewis. Take back John Lewis. I learnt of this guy called Bob Villain for the first time.
I'd heard of Bob Villain, but I didn't realise the band is called Bob Villain, and they're both called Bobby Villain, just spelled differently.
Okay, because I never heard of his music, but obviously I heard him like chanting at Glastonbury. Very good, approved. God, he's sort of like. Is he just like, are they like a shit Rage Against the Machine? I was like, I guess so. They were singing a song about like take your country back, or you want your country back, and something about like bad fucking luck or something. I don't know. I was enjoying it for its message, but yeah, it did whiff slightly of like.
It's like a British interpretation thereof, right?
Yeah, but I enjoyed his words. He said them all with his chest, with passion, but like.
There was no subtlety to his approaching the topic.
Yeah, but he had something, but it was kind of like shit Rage Against the Machine. But I think that's more to do with the fact that like Rage Against the Machine was so Rage Against the Machine that if you start to approach towards anywhere near a certain radius of Rage Against the Machine,
you're going to draw comparisons.
Its gravity well just pulls you in, and you're just like, oh, you sound like Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, the crowd seemed very on board with what was going on and very in support of Kneecap.
Oh, it seemed like a giant orgy of anti-Semitism to me. Now you could just see them all churning in their Palestine flags.
I did see something that pointed out that, like in 2017, was it? The Glastonbury crowd was chanting, "Oh, Jeremy Corbyn," and this year it was "Fuck Keir Starmer."
The fact that they just got way more members or votes even under Jeremy Corbyn than they ever have under Keir Starmer.
Yeah. I know there's a prevailing sort of stuck in 2012 Olympics / won't stop obsessing over Brexit / won't get over Jeremy Corbyn type of sort of brainwormed lib. And I'm very pro just accepting that Corbyn lost and moving on, but I'm not pro letting anyone forget that we told them so. And this is something that's this important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did tell them so.
Right. Yes. Ultimately, they need to remember that, and that they should listen to us next time, because everything we said has been proven correct.
Yeah, but you don't, Mark, we're all gay and we're all like, doing left-wing things. The whole world has been poisoned against us, so
true.
Hence why we come together to talk about like slightly childish things to distract ourselves from the inhumanity of the world.
Well, yes, quite. I have redeleted Instagram off my phone again.
Oh, really?
It's just too depressing.
Fair.
I just get too angry, and I'm on it all the goddamn time if it's on my phone. So
have you completely filled your? Because I still have a fair amount of like utterly brainless shit on Instagram, like just stupid stuff. I really think the gay meme accounts are really balancing the load.
The horrific
right now.
Political.
Well, because it's like things like class war memes and all those sort of things, but mine are interspersed with things that do, I suppose, touch upon the same kind of subjects in places, but gays who meme well. And it's lit gay shit. I just always like find myself very much chuckling to whatever they're posting seems to kind of amuse me.
I am a big fan of that Golden Frog in, is it? That one that posts all the pictures of the wizards and says stuff like that.
I do. I haven't bothered to like follow that, but I always like seeing them on your stories because I'm just trying to exist as like a fucking stupid little monkey peasant.
Right.
All
I wanted to do was live in Moomin Valley. Now I have to do spreadsheets.
Oh, heartbreaking.
Yes.
Moomin never had to do a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
How are you, Ben?
I'm good. I think I found out that I'm built for much more milder climates. Don't get me wrong, I love the sun. The corresponding heat, however, not the best fan, but
that's because it's Britain. Like, we are, in a strange twist of fate, we are becoming like tropical.
Even our heat is oppressive.
because it's getting fucking hot, but we're like a really moist island. So rather than just being like a dry, like when I go to Spain in 2 weeks' time, it'll probably be similar temperatures, but it won't feel quite the same.
Precisely.
I feel like here, and I've seen a lot of Americans and stuff making videos lately going, "Oh, I will never like criticize a British like Londoner or something about talking about the heat," because there is. I think it's because it's like maybe this is more like what the heat's like in like Malaysia or Singapore or something. Where I've had my mate said that it's the sort of place because it's so moist, it's so humid. You walk out the airport and it's like someone got like a wet towel and just smacked it into your face. So
my friend's in Korea at the moment, and like apparently Korea and Japan,
and he's not coming back.
But they have like a specific energy drink. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like designed specifically to rehydrate you really quickly because of the temperature over there. But we have none of this. We've got dragon soup and a fan.
True. Yeah. So besides that, no, I'm doing pretty well. Honestly, this week has been a little bit of a whirlwind. I haven't really done too much of my own interests, but I've been out and about. I was able to see some of you guys. Wasn't able to see you, Mark, because you were busy dying, rudely enough. But yeah, I cannot complain. I'm certainly going to make a kind of like wish list of things I want to do over the next couple of days, though, because I feel like I've just been resting and doing nothing.
Yeah, I do feel like I'm just coasting. I need to be a bit more sort of like in the driver's seat of my own life. It's very easy to end a few days into your week. Like, oh shit, I've done nothing of the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, literally just that, because like there are really a couple of fun type of ideas and fun type of bits that I've wanted to read, and I was just like, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. And then I've just been like, oh yeah, I'll do it in a little bit. And then I just haven't, because I've just been not rotting in bed. I have been going outside. I have been touching grass. But, you know, sometimes touching grass isn't enough, I feel.
Sometimes you've really got to touch some grass.
But yeah, I'm good.
I mean, what's up from touching grass? Like, what comes after that? Where's the next step?
That's precisely the issue.
If touching grass is not enough, because touching grass,
you've got to go and drink seawater. I know it's not nice, but it sounds like the next step.
That's what I was thinking. Like, if you're touching grass, that's going. It's basically just saying, just go outside and just experience like outside. Surely, like Mark sort of said, the next step up, with maybe not drinking it. Maybe you just need to fling yourself into the sea. It feels like it's very much like I must feel it more. I must have more of kind of like
no, definitely it is that. I think like
you are by the sea.
I know that's what makes it so easy. And like I have been touching grass. I have been like experiencing outside, but I've also just like I feel like I've just been almost like passive in my existence, in the sense that like I'm enjoying the sun, but I'm not really thinking about like what would it be like to do this type of thing. I just feel like I'm existing. It almost feels like I am like passive in my own life, I guess. I feel like there should be something I should be doing. Like, for one example that I'll give you actually, and this is a really good one. So obviously I'm going to be kayaking with my wife. Well, I say with, but I'll be on the beach. But like while she's out there doing something, I feel like I should at least just be doing a little bit of journaling or just doing a little bit of like writing, something like that. And it's good, but I'm also like, I want to do something. I feel like the urge is to do something is there, but then I just get comfy and I just don't do it. That's what it is. I think that's where my frustration lies, that I want to push through the feeling of comfort and actually like, you know, do something that isn't just existing.
I am very bad at finding, because obviously just sitting and being comfortable is quite a good thing. Yeah, but it is far too easy to do far too much of it, and I don't know where the line is.
Precisely where I'm at the moment.
I don't know. Is it skewing into like very kind of? If I just say the first words that come into my head, I'm thinking it's like. Is it again? We talked before about like the Victorian sort of system, just this general Britishness of like, if I'm not kind of like going through some discomfort, or if I'm enjoying myself too much by doing what Mark said, which is just like fucking existing at home and being comfortable and enjoying the fruits of your labour, which in this day and age is that you have somewhere to just sit down for a bit and not be fucking interfered with in any way, but you can comfortably just sit in your house and then have something to eat and a cup of tea. You're probably like doing all right in 2025. And so I don't know. I just don't.
It's hard navigating that line, definitely, because like I feel like you're completely right in the sense that like it can't just be all about work. It can't just all about even doing the stuff that you love that will require a certain modicum of effort, energy, and time. Right?
Yeah.
And like there's nothing wrong with that, but like you are also right in the sense that like there isn't anything really wrong with just like taking a breath, taking a breather, and just like enjoying yourself. I think maybe I have been too conditioned by the British subculture / attitude, but like I feel like it's a little bit of a struggle for me at the moment, just like trying to find that balance and just like accepting the comfort. But that's something for me to deal with and like figure out, because if I don't figure it out, I'm just going to be like I'm going to be capitalism's best friend, but like a shell of a person otherwise.
I think I am talking about what you're talking about, what you've just talked about, but I'm also talking about a layer, like a level above it. Like, whilst, you shouldn't just work for everything, you should sort of work to live or whatever, but what is wrong with like just really fucking enjoying being a slob? Like, I'm not just talking about like I'm not achieving anything. It's like why not just, I don't know, like why put such like arbitrary sort of almost like rules on like what you have to do? Like obviously there's certain things you have to do because you have to clean things up and you have to sort of like maintain your situation or whatever, but like what is wrong with just actually striving to just be a lazy piece of shit in like the best possible way? There's still a strength of conviction there. I don't want to do anything. I just want to fucking chill with some stuff.
I guess the thing is that I do want to do stuff. I'm just not very good at making myself do it.
Yeah, well, so do I. But I'm just asking, what is like? It always annoys me that like I guess we're always being judged because it feels like a very Christian thing. Maybe that's the vibe that I keep, the sentiment behind it.
Interesting.
Like this idea of not being bone idle. It feels like a sort of fucking authoritarian nun would be.
No, I can't.
Chasing me around and sort of
must do this. You must do
like
this.
Like it's a sin to be. Like, I just wonder whether that kind of maybe like small C conservative, maybe even like my dad was like this idea of like feeling almost enraged that I was still lying in bed. We're doing group therapy earlier, like at the weekend, because like I don't know, and it's like what. Did you are you angry that you just didn't sleep in?
Yeah, there is boomer jealousy and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, that kind of thing. This, and I don't know whether that does come from being a country that is sort of founded like on a Christian faith, but this it always feels like a very Christian-y sort of idea. This of like, being lazy is a sin, or just sort of.
There is the Protestant worth ethic. But yeah, I mean, this is where you get into sort of the realm of faith, I suppose. It's like, is there something to do more?
That's what I've always said. I am a very milquetoast like disciple of Slanesh. We've discussed this before. Like I'm all into like living a life of just hedonistic fulfillment on like quite base levels as well of like comfort. Obviously, not the kind of like pleasures that Slanesh would demand of me particularly.
Yeah, he asks a lot.
Like I'm a subset of the very sedate, whereas I'm not going to be like rocking around with just like one tit and people like cutting each other for
It
pleasure.
seems a lot to ask, right?
It's all very Cenobite type coded, but yes. Ben, do you know what we're talking about?
No clue.
Slanesh is one of like the gods or the chaos gods, depending on which version you're looking at in Warhammer universes.
Okay.
And Slanesh is like the god. Like you've got Khorne, who's like the god of like blood and war.
Blood for the blood god.
Blood for the blood god. And then you've got are they called like Zench or Tench or something? Like they're kind of like a giant.
Zench.
Yeah, they're like is it like mischievousness and magic and something or other? They're much more magical when they're portrayed, firing like beams of shit everywhere. And then you've got Nurgle, who is like the god of pestilence and plague and stuff like that. He loves all his children. And that's lots of people with like hideous mutations and things like pox walkers that are kind of just festering zombies or whatever. And then you have Slanesh, who is like the god of 40k. She's saying to do the Eldar because coded that the elves are perverts wherever they are.
Well, the Eldar did chaos, didn't they?
Yeah. But anyway, she's like the god. Strange because like it's very like non-gendered. It's very fluid with like because it often, I think, doesn't it both reference them in the masculine and the feminine? Because I know like sometimes it's the Prince of Darkness or something. I don't know. Maybe it's different between Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k. But I do know something, that it doesn't matter whether she or he are being referenced in either gender. They always just seem to have one tit. It seems having one tit is a prerequisite for enjoying all of life's like earthly pleasures or whatever it is.
The more you know.
Oh yeah, if you like lore, Ben, then like Warhammer 40k.
40k lore is some of the coolest lore.
I think it's also so cool because it's kind of like it's very big and it's all like woven together because they just, as far as I know, they just had to make like new toys to sell. And so then someone had to write backstory, and then it just I guess it starts to generate itself in interesting ways, and people come after it and iterate on it, and it's just sort of built into this giant like matrix of it's quite fascinating.
I'll certainly give it a go. As to when, I can't promise it will be any time within the next 6 months. However, I always like reading like weird and wonderful lore bits. I did find myself earlier this week, just because I was waiting for a train, I was just scrolling through like random D&D wikis and just going through the Pantheon. That was a lot of fun. But I really do like doing stuff like that.
I know next to nothing about D&D lore.
I know a few of the settings, but I don't. And I've heard of some reoccurring characters, i.e. just, what's the drow who just appears like in everything. And they want to, if there's ever a commercial tie-in with another enterprise, it's always this one particular drow.
I know who you're talking about.
He's been in like Baldur's Gate 2, in Dungeons and Dragons.
I know who you're on about. I cannot remember the name.
Drench?
Let me check.
There's one drow character that always gets used because he's the coolest one.
But yes. I really do like reading lore. Oh, one lore thing that I really got into, and I don't know why. I don't even really know what it is. It was making its way like through the like Tumblr archives of like horror way back when. But like there's this thing called like SCP, and I really don't even know like.
Oh yeah, I've heard of SCP.
I just like reading through like their wiki and just like seeing the different type of objects.
Well, that is like almost like just the project itself is to just create these individual like reports on another different sort of strange phenomenon or creature like cryptid that's been caught, and it's as if they're all being held in a facility somewhere, and I think people submit like a profile for it as if it was like you're reading its sort of medical journal or something. And I guess like fucking so much other content and people like theory crafting and stuff. I'm sure there's like a massive web of just like fucking weirdos on the internet creating SCP related lore, and it's probably very deep and mind crushing by now.
It very much is. There's so many weird and wonderful ones, but it certainly gets like the creative mind up and running, certainly, that's for sure. But yes, I think one thing I'm actually curious about, I know that we've all been quite busy in terms of just like either work stuff or just like recovering, but in terms of like any like bits towards like creative projects and just like actual fun shit that we've done this week, what have we been up to?
I've been just making two things. I've been making pixel art, like chunks of buildings. And I've also been playing World of Warcraft again because I want to make a video about like how they've put a 1-button rotation tool in there. So for attack, so that you can just have it attack, and it will, depending on distance from a player, depending on the enemy, a few environmental like inputs will dictate when next time you press number 1, it will just do the next attack in that sequence. But there is a slight amount of like variation if the situation and the cooldown is at the right coincide. It will use certain skills. But anyway, the idea is that you can bind like, all of your attacking to just the number 1 key, so you can just keep pressing 1. So that means all around that you can assign all the skills for interrupting a spell, stunning someone, getting yourself free from entrapment, like all of the like utility stuff that you usually just don't end up doing because I'm too busy trying to figure out which fucking attack buttons on me, because you're supposed to be weaving it. But now, if you just know, right, I can just do those things when they're needed because I'm not thinking about rotating. I'm not pressing loads of like buttons rotating. My mind is free to sort of focus on the fact that I need to, I guess, just switch between modes of like attacking and utility. So healing, guarding, moving, you know, whatever. But of course, it's apparently it's not as it's got like a what would it be called? You have a longer global cooldown. So essentially, it's kind of slowing down. So you will never hit the peak of World of Warcraft performances unless you've got, you know, you're not using this kind of this accessibility tool. But it's not really an accessibility tool. It's also just a tool to let people fucking just play the game. Like basically, it's one of those things that's it's going to be great for casuals. It's never going to affect anyone that plays this at like a top level. However, obviously, some people are very much having a cry about the fact that it's kind of like, I don't know, to me, it always feels like the kind of like the student debt thing. It's like, well, why should you be forgiven your debt when I had to pay all of mine back? I've had to sit here and press all the buttons
while you can do this thing
and learn to be good in this hostile environment where there's just like so many bewildering skills to use. Like, I guess to put it into also back into sort of like Mark's genre as well, is it the way people might have felt a little bit to when more Mortal Kombat style button formation or layout got put into like Street Fighter above the classic, you know, having to do your Hadoukens with your fucking D-pad or whatever. Now you could just press forward at a button and do like, I don't know. I guess there were probably some people, most people I'm guessing, just like, well, I don't really care if it allows people to just play the game and enjoy it. But it feels a bit like that. It feels like, oh, you've not suffered to be allowed to sort of take a shortcut. Even though I feel like a lot of the add-ons that used to get used were probably trying to do some of that. I know certainly people would write macros so that you'd press that one button and then it would do like a free skills like sort of order because you programmed it in because you only ever want to use one spell when you use another one or something. So I feel like a lot of these things actually were already being sort of like modded out of the game, but Blizzard has decided to do it themselves. So there's just some people that are crying about, I don't know, you've made it too easy, even though you just could just keep playing exactly as you'd always played.
Yeah.
I obviously don't know enough to comment on World of Warcraft, but I'm very anti-mod controls in Street Fighter. But that's because it changes how the game plays too much for my liking, rather than because it lets people play.
But I'm assuming that you don't have, we wouldn't have any problem with like, because it's more like Mortal Kombat, that new style.
Well, it's more like Smash Brothers, really.
Well, that's true. I suppose that's the word. But I never play Smash Brothers, so I didn't feel that Mortal Kombat was ever as slightly less demanding than say Street Fighter 2 was at the time in terms of like button inputs for moves. But I suppose if you play like Mortal Kombat, then every character is like that. It's not like I can play you, but you can use classic input methods and I can use fucking...
Yeah, that's the one thing, like, in Street Fighter, the new one, like, you can't filter out people based on what control type they're using when you're playing ranked online. So I've not got no problem with people using modern controls. I just don't like playing against someone that's doing it because they're playing a very different game.
One example I can give for that, not specifically within the fighting game genre, but this is something that's come up in a different game genre. Way back when, I used to really enjoy like competitive FPS games, and I really, really renounce my affiliation with those now. But
CS.
Oh no, God, never CS. I did start off with Rainbow Six Siege, though. That was an interesting time in my life. But the reason why I just kind of picked up on that was because with Apex Legends, there is a very funny thing where they don't separate the people who play on PC and also just like the console gamers. And the reason why this causes like so much like disagreements is because literally there is such strong like not auto aim per se, but there's like almost like
aim assist.
Yeah, there's such a strong aim assist that like it got to the point where like in the super high like competitive scene, no one was playing mouse and keyboard anymore. Everyone was just using controllers because like it was that much of a difference. But yeah,
but that's the exact problem that's going on with this new thing now. And the thing is that obviously to me it feels a little bit like everyone's making content out. Whereas actually the answer is that they've just brought this out, and the idea is that they're trying to impose a penalty on you for playing this one button system. However, this penalty is not going to really impede you. Like if you want to go and play all through the dungeons and just do like random grouped raids or whatever, you can now casually probably consume more of the content, because it's like I saw someone on a forum saying that this raises the floor, but it doesn't like change the ceiling. What I'm saying is that they're moaning, but all they need to do is just adjust this a bit more and tweak the balance. Like at the moment, it's got a 0.3 seconds added to the global cooldown if you're using this one button system. Like what I'm saying is I don't know if this is really a news story when they can just like tweak it, but there's lots of people going, but no one's going to want to use that anymore. So maybe though, coming to think of it, when you've just referenced that in the fighting game space, like no one, or sort of the FPS space where you were saying like everyone was just like, actually we are using controls. Like I don't know whether are their arguments legit, worrying that this will usher in people just not using old style controls anymore. And as I'm thinking on the fly here, it's just occurred to me, what if that's the case? Like, obviously, Mark, you said you are against the new one, so...
I guess I misspoke. I'm not against it. I'm against not being able to filter it out.
Yeah, I don't mean that in a sort of, that sounds maybe like aggressive towards them, and I'm sure you're not. But what I mean more is that, like... And I'm thinking of this from a World of Warcraft scenario. If this gets adopted in World of Warcraft scenario and just like becomes like the new way of doing things, is that necessarily a bad thing?
I guess it depends what you want.
Now, some people would argue with Warcraft, there's too many buttons anyway. Some people are suspicious and suspect because Microsoft have it, and more and more sort of Microsoft games are coming to sort of to Game Pass.
Yeah.
And I wonder, games that were from Blizzard because they acquired Blizzard. I mean, I have a subscription to Warcraft, but through Game Pass, I was able to they're linked and they're kind of the same now, but obviously you need a Battle.net pass to play World of Warcraft. But that's how I was able to play like Diablo 4. So loads of Blizzard games are popping up in Game Pass PC now. And obviously Microsoft owns them. And some people are kind of like, is this how they're going to try and start bringing it to a way you could then put it on the console? So that if you can start reducing the amount of buttons that need to be pressed, and it's just like, this is your attack button,
make it more accessible is the wrong word, but make it more available, I guess, for general audiences.
But that's, they're not, they do have to change something. I mean, the thing is they've still got like, 6 million concurrent players logging into Warcraft. So they're not like done, but they are getting older. And I don't know if there are like as many younger people coming in, because why would you want to play that? Like if there is to be an iteration that's going to be drawing in younger people, it's not like it doesn't have the aesthetics or anything like that. I feel like they do quite well and all that stuff. It's just that it's just not the way people play games anymore.
Yeah, I think trying to appeal to a newer audience with old MMOs is like a bad idea. It's just not going to happen. But then, like Final Fantasy XIV, like obviously it fucked it up massively when it launched. Then it was quite beloved for a while, and then they simplified all the classes, and now everything's like just plays like the same character more or less. You kind of have to do the same things on rotation and that kind of thing. But then if you don't do that, you end up with loads of redundant like abilities anyway that no one really uses because everyone's min-maxed the fuck out of whatever they're doing. They don't really know what to do. But the best, especially if it's something like an MMO where everyone kind of has to play the same build of the game. Like to piss everyone off, I'm very pro an easy mode in FromSoft games because what the fuck does it matter to you how I play it ultimately? Like, shut up. If your game is only good because it's hard, then it's not a fucking good game. Like, you still got normal mode. If you want to hate the fucking game, that's on you. Yeah, that's like different games, isn't it? Like, because there's not the crossover, like the required crossover as there is in an MMO, you can have different builds of it. Like,
the analogy that I will put on this whole one button situation is it's like between a automatic and a manual car. Like if you had an automatic and a manual race car, I'm not a big like brum brum engine kind of guy anyway. Like, but it is my understanding that like if you have an automatic, then yes, I'm sure I had a friend who had a Jaguar XKR, which was automatic, and because it was a sports car, even though it was automatic, you put your foot down and it would go fucking fast, and it'd be great fun. But no doubt, if you were to compete competitively at a proper competitive level in like race car driving, I know that it's like the people who are going to have the manual gearbox, where you've got a little bit more control over everything, is probably going to outperform an automatic car potentially, like given other variables. But if you want to, is it safe to say if you want to eke every last bit out of like, although now thinking about it, they've got computers, haven't they? Is this a thing of the
right, Grandad? They've got computers now.
Once again, having computers, because I think what I'm doing is I'm remembering something in the past and then bringing it to the future, and then not ever really updating my opinions or whether that thing might actually be true. Because it was always like known to me that like you could get more out of it through like a manual. Because I guess like you could.
I think that's probably still the case. Like there is when you're at like that level.
But now I'm just looking at like, my old enemy AI, and it's not even AI because that I think that most things called AI aren't AI. They're just computer programs, and we fucking had them before. But computer program in inverted commas AI on like the accelerator of a gear. Surely we have so much data by now actually that should be something that the computer could work out how to make you go very, very fast. Like between all the gears in it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I guess if you're driving the car, then maybe there is no substitution for the human intuition. But like, I don't know.
I think part of the beef is, especially with WoW, I think a lot of people are like, look, I had to fucking suffer to get good at this. I don't want other people having the same experience. That boomer gatekeeper, like, never did me any harm bullshit, which is the same with Dark Souls. It's just like, why should I get to play the game when I'm not going to be a massive sweat about it when other people had to learn how to play Dark Souls games to enjoy it? But it's like, again, fuck you, I don't care.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. And for any of our listeners, if you are curious about that boomer type of gatekeeper type of feeling that we talked about, we do have an episode on it as well. So you can always go back and listen to that. But I also think that it's hard because like I don't feel like I'm part of like the boomer gatekeepy type of area, but I think there is something to be said in particular about like I want things to be like as widely as accessible or just like as general as possible, but there is something to be said about like kind of learning, the process of learning. And like I feel like there's a very fine line between like making things accessible and making it too easy. And the reason why I'm saying it like this is just because I feel like I feel like it can be done, but it can only be done in a way that is with intention. And would we necessarily trust like, let's give the World of Warcraft example. Would we trust like Microsoft to do it in a way that isn't just like, oh yeah, we want to get more people playing so that they can like buy more subscriptions, that type of thing. Is the intention, is it for like the health of the game, or is it for the health of like the shareholders' wallets, I guess.
Never the twain shall meet.
Yeah.
I am in massive favour of this button because the whole point to like the video that I'm going to make on it is that I've been testing it on a lot of things, but I'm going to like use it to then run 2 different like roles in dungeons that I just don't usually play. I never play as a healer and I never play as a tank because I just don't want to. I don't want to have that kind of fucking responsibility. But I do understand broadly what it is I need to do for those 2 roles. I have absorbed this much. So obviously part of when you're fighting in sort of like a lot of MMOs is that maybe your performance due to various passive abilities, like you can't just sit there and heal. You might have to weave in some attacking as well to buff up your magic regeneration so that you can burn it down with like heals and stuff, if you're like a druid or whatever it is. So there is some management of like sort of resources, but the idea that I can just take out, so for instance, I've got like a druid and I was like, I want to try a healer. So I looked through, but like I kind of searched, and do you know what it always says whenever you go into like a Reddit post and it's like, oh, what's the easiest healer class?
Yeah.
Like so often, sometimes there will be one that people go, oh, it's this, and then unanimously they'll say, I think it's this. But a lot of the time you just see a lot of people go like, oh, just whichever one you enjoy the most. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't. Like, I'm not a proponent of that. So I like my druid. So that's what I've gone with. But it allows me to essentially just know I just need to tap the one. And then I kind of like in my head when I switch to like, right, I'm healing other party members or something. Because that's the other thing as well, is cutting down the area in which you have to operate in order to press the fucking rotation of keys. Putting like 5 or 6 or 7 skills into this auto rotation and just binding that to one. And so you don't have to be stretching all the way up there to hit 0 or 9 to do a fucking cooldown. Like you can be more reactive. So it means you can kind of, to my mind, you can be more kind of present in what you're supposed to be doing. You can look around a bit more rather than just staring at your skill bar and like, which skill am I going to press in the right order? It does make it more accessible. It will be great for people that actually have accessibility requirements, but it will also just mean that people like me who have ignored things before might just be able to like participate casually in more of the game. From what I've heard is that people are worried that it will be good enough, but actually it's like when you start to put the equation of like effort for like certain raid tier stuff, they'll be like, actually, it's less effort to just build for the 1 button spec, and that will be enough, even though potentially we could do more damage. And there's been lots of argument, like, what's the fucking YouTube channel that shows you side by sides by different games, and they just like pour over like the Digital Foundry?
Oh, yeah.
I think I've seen that.
Oh, Digital Foundry, they're looking at the minutest of like differences in colours and frame rates and stuff, and it's like, it's so, I used to have a mate who used to watch it. I was just like, I don't know, it kind of looks slightly different on both of the Xbox and the PS5, but it kind of looks all right. It's just it's game. So it's a little bit like that, whereby I don't know, it feels it's a bit of a redundant argument no matter what, because surely it's better that more people are playing your game, and it's better that there's just more people that can play to a certain standard. Seeing as like, again, crossover with like FromSoft games and stuff, the idea of getting good. It's like you always want to tell people they need to get good. But then when you can be like, oh, okay, well, I'll use this thing and I'll become good enough that I can now play to how you want me to play. And then it's like, no, you didn't get good in the right way. You have to get good in the way I got good. And we're back to the student loan debt forgiveness argument.
Yeah, I suppose the best outcome of that sort of thing is that you can become competent by pressing one, but the skill ceiling requires a greater understanding of the. But yeah, as you said, whether they do that or whether they've realised that they can build specifically for the press one mechanic and get loads of money is.
But this is it, right? MMORPGs get nerfed and tweaked and buffed all the time. There's patches released. And it just feels funny to like everyone's having these conversations like I just had, and we were talking about, oh, well, will it unbalance this? Will they actually find out that? And it's like, okay, but this is an ever evolving thing. Surely all of am I crazy for thinking all of these kind of arguments mean nothing if they then go, oh, okay, let's try doing 0.5 on the global cooldown. Does that have like a significant enough? Does that find that sweet spot that they're looking for that allows people to come up into another tier but not exceed? Like, that's all they have to do. Like, won't this not be a problem once they've balanced it?
I feel like just because of the main point that you made earlier is just that there are like 6 million people who are currently playing. I feel like it's not that it's a fool's errand per se, but I feel like it's going to be so hard to find like a universal change that was like good enough for everyone to be universally happy about it. I feel like there's something to be said that like they can get close, and there's always going to be like a minority who might not be happy with it, but all it takes is one viral video on YouTube or TikTok to go absolutely nuts, or someone to figure out like something that has never been figured out before with like that global cooldown, and just like that to go viral, that can like cause an avalanche of like nonsense. But yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, but they can. This is the thing. They can always patch.
That's true.
They can always just roll out a patch. If something, like they've always done in the past, if something's too powerful, it just gets fucking nerfed, and then something gets buffed, and it's you're never getting it right. There's always a season where someone's going like, "My hunter's shit now."
I mean,
or whatever it is. Like it's a very hard thing to sort of balance.
Oh, 100%.
But like I feel like it's a kind of like a good thing, because the other thing is, strangely, I'm on the side conceptually of the people that are probably moaning about it for those reasons of like, oh, but you didn't suffer like I did type back in my day type shit. But what I think all these people forget is that Blizzard do not give a fuck if you're liking or loving the choices or how you feel towards them. Like, they want, essentially, if they can make it easier and lower the barrier for more people maybe getting involved in more areas of the game, their whole thing is reliant on wanting you to be kind of like invested in multiple areas of the game so that you will keep paying them like a monthly sub to have game time. So like they only care that more people are playing. So ironically, like capitalism is leaning towards the casuals, because it's like,
that's where the money's
there's
at.
more of you. Yeah. There's more of you casuals over there.
Well, this is what happened to Tekken 8.
Yeah, everything is linked. Shut it down. It's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I guess there obviously does have to be like a balance to be struck, because is Tekken 8 a result of the similar inputs that have fed them towards like coming to this kind of opinion of like what we should do next, what action we should take, how we should, I don't know, balance the game or whatever, and then getting things kind of like completely wrong. That's more to do with their like stupidity than that it is inherently wrong to, I don't know, look at what you're actually doing as a company. Like, I don't know.
I do wonder how possible a fighting game that will ever actually fully appeal to casual players. And I think that's reflected in what's happened to the player count on stream for Tekken 8. It's just fucking funny.
Oh no!
Like, I just don't think like really casual game players give a shit about fighting games.
Well, Ben
with a big no there.
Yeah. But is it that you've got basically? Do you have because I'm trying to think of the casual like fighting game enjoyer, and all I can think of is like when you'd go around your mate's house and your mate would be really into it, and you would all sit down and we would just fight each other, and I would casually enjoy Mortal Kombat that way for much of my life.
I am probably the casual fighting game enjoyer.
Why?
And I've got a fucking leaderless fighting pad, so yeah.
Yes, you've
right, yeah, I'm casual as far as fighting game enjoyers go.
That's insane.
I'm fucking shit at them, Ben, I don't mind telling you.
Okay, so perhaps basically I'm just not going to spend too much time thinking about this, because it goes way deeper than I think I can be bothered to explore, to be honest. I have watched some video about some fucking dude called something God who...
low tier God.
Low tier God, yeah. Yeah, he seemed like both a twat and, I don't know, a special character.
Yeah,
in more ways than one.
Special little flower.
Yes, well, God, how hot is it in...
How hot is it?
How hot is it in Manchester?
I think it's like 20 something. It's fucking muggy though.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we're back to that thing about Britain's going to become tropical.
Can you imagine?
It is 24 degrees.
Or are we going to turn into a swamp? What will happen if the heat goes up in a moist place?
I imagine
become a rainforest or a swamp.
It'll be
swampy. Which would be a bog.
I feel like we
which is what we deserve, really.
UK's
Sweaty bog.
I feel like the UK does have more of like swamp bog energy.
Yeah, like wetlands kind of bullshit.
The UK has swamp bog energy.
Yeah.
I'll design a t-shirt for their merch store. Swamp bog energy. Have you played any more Claire Obscure, Mark, or has that been a distant
I've not, but I do
distant
intend to
French dream?
I do intend to get back on it today. Now I've got some like a long stretch of available time.
Oh hell yeah!
Exactly. Well, none, but soon just because it seems like too good. There's too many types of people, too many different types of people that I've seen play it that have come out raving about it. So it just seems stupid not to engage with it.
Yeah. No, generally, you're gonna have a blast. Even more so.
Again, there's so much stuff that I want to play.
Welcome to my.
I want to play that multiplayer Elden Ring thing. I want to start Sea of Thieves again. I need to do Still X the Deep. I got Dredge because that's on Game
That
Pass
should be a nice little one, like when you're on your own.
It's like a chill out thing.
Like
well, not chill out.
It looks well. It's
casually engaged with Lovecraftian horrors.
Yeah, it's very good at that. At what it's like, what it's trying to do.
Yeah,
it achieves it very, very well. It's like maybe you could play that and then play Still Wakes the Deep, and it'll be like a continuation.
Yeah, like a
make it
reinterpretation
thematically in the same universe somehow.
Well, I'm sure I'll get lots of ideas for our game from it.
Yeah.
You also, I would recommend you to play a little bit of Hades, Mark. Just
Blueprints is on Game Pass as well.
I have heard of this.
It's
a
different type of roguelike, I think.
It's built different for sure.
But I was just before then. Well, I think I've got a run going in Binding of Isaac because I decided to, within the last half an hour, just play it again for a discussion of like roguelikes. And I think that the Binding of Isaac is like the number one, like best roguelike for me, but also best way to kind of explain everything about sort of a roguelike.
Yeah.
Like for me personally, in terms of like its simplicity, it's really like quite an old school, simple game. You're kind of like dodging bullets and you're shooting bullets in 4 directions, and you're going in and out of different rooms, like a Zelda sort of. You're going through a dungeon sort of thing. It has like a very basic but amusing thematic story about Isaac and the sort of the Catholic sort of tale or something. Where is it Catholic or just Christian? I don't know. But the tale of Isaac, or the Binding of Isaac, where his mum basically in this situation wants to kill him because God tells her to kill her son. And then Isaac escapes through the basement.
Good for Isaac.
And he's going through many levels to get to escape from his mother who's trying to kill him. And
have you played
fight poos and blood clots and just all sorts of weird shit?
Yeah, literally.
Have you played Cult of the Lamb?
Oh yeah, I've got Cult of the Lamb as well.
Is that a good intro?
The Cult of the Lamb, see, I'll give you a quick and honest opinion of Cult of the Lamb. It is perfectly fine at both elements of the game, but there is a clear like separation of 2 modes of gameplay between although one feeds back into each other, and I get it, but there is the roguelike thing of going into a dungeon and having to work through like a procedurally generated set of rooms and then beat a boss at the end. And that's going to allow you to bring back resources for you to then build your camp. But then the other side of it is the camp, where it is very much like outside of the roguelike sort of concept, because that's about building something permanent between runs. Keeps going. Even though actually some roguelikes like Hades do have permanency between runs and you are increasing sort of base level skills so that next time you go and do a run, you will be that. So you're edging up, but then you also get the kind of like randomness within inside a run.
Yeah. So normally I would have actually agreed with Iain in the sense, just going back to the Binding of Isaac point, that would probably be the best encapsulation. And I think that does matter for everyone who isn't you. But I think one thing that you particularly would enjoy in the roguelike space, more than not Cultist Simulator, bloody hell, Cult of the Lamb, more than Binding of Isaac, specifically you though, Mark, Darkest Dungeon, first one.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I don't like the sort of roguelike nature of it. But the aesthetic and the narration and the sound design and stuff, I absolutely love. Yeah,
I think that you've hit on an important theme with roguelikes, which is, I will tell you, my experience of Darkest Dungeon is that I don't not mind everything that happens within that. I think they're good mechanics. To me, it felt too harsh. So that the idea of a roguelike is that, sometimes you might lose a lot of progress. Let's say something like Hades or whatever. You might get all the way to like past Cerberus and die to Hades every time when you do a new run. But the way it feels to play to get there, the same as it feels in the Binding of Isaac run, where it's part of it is actually playing it. It's very like how I imagine you play things in an arcade or something like that back in the day. It's just it's very simple. It's very immediate. You are so playing it and how it feels to play is part of the reward. So that's why there needs to be some sort of balancing whereby the amount of loss you feel, you might feel like, I was all the way near the end, but there's a strange thing. You need to balance it so that near the beginning you don't feel like you've lost too much. It's like, okay, that was enjoyable, I'll keep going. After you get to a certain point, I think it tips you over the other way where you're kind of so close to like, you're starting to prove to yourself, oh, I can do this roguelike. I can, because they're usually a bit like trickier or skill based. So you're kind of like, oh, actually, this is encouraging because I'm getting closer to it. Yeah. But that bit in the middle, that feels like the quick part to me, where by like Darkest Dungeon, it's like, I love all the themes, but then it just kicks the shit out of me so humiliatingly. Yeah. And it's just, maybe it's just too much at the beginning. Yeah. Which ironically, I know is what makes it better. Is what makes a game, in a lot of cases, what makes a game better. That you've got all of these intricate things that you've got to manage and stuff, and there's such complexity and depth. But I don't know, there are some games that kind of introduce you, play you into the game, whereby you go through, you get in things slowly introduced to you, so that you kind of build up your knowledge as you go through, therefore accumulating each individual extra dimension. I suppose like Clear Obscure. So like it keeps introducing new things to you so that you never just go like, I feel like Darkest Dungeon, there's a little bit of like, these are the things that are happening to you now, and then they all just happen at you. There's no like, I think it has a tutorial, which is probably pretty decent, but I just think that the game feels too punishing, and I don't like it when a roguelike punishes too much, and therefore kind of like, you should always want to not mind replaying that last bit again that you've lost in a roguelike. That's the whole fucking point of it. If you just feel like, I just feel so crushed by the fact that I've lost this bit of progress. That's why I don't like survival games like Minecraft and stuff like that. Minecraft be very fun with your friends, I'm sure, on like a server. But things like Rust or even like 7 Days to Die or games where you're building this thing up, or even Valheim, I do understand what I'm supposed to get from them, like the feeling of achievement of building this thing. But if for any reason that, you know, I've gone across the map to get some special thing, to do some special thing, or my base gets attacked or whatever, like I think I feel such a level of loss that I just usually just turn it off. I can't face going back and doing it again. But there is something about like a roguelike where it's, because it can't just be that I know that I'm supposed to just start again. It has to be something to do with like, to me, I feel like it's got a bit, roguelikes intrinsically need to be quite sort of like reactive sort of gameplay, that you're very present in it at the time. But having said that, there are things like deck builder roguelikes where you're edging into this sort of strategy. Have you played what's the card battler Slay the Spire? Have you ever played Slay the Spire, Mark?
No, my brother loves it, but he likes roguelike.
Yeah, I mean that has a different kind of like flow to it. It can be quite fast because you can just decide which card you're going to play and just play it through literally fast. But otherwise, it is turn-based combat, and you have cards that you draw, and you've got to manage an energy system to attack each round, and different skills, and you can choose how you skip on certain cards to make your pack more effective for a certain tactic. So it has all the kind of classic roguelike, collect items and get different synergies and stuff like that. But it's not like Binding of Isaac. If you just stop, or Hades, if you just stop, you will just die. This is at least sort of like, it's roguelike in its construction of how you progress and how you improve your character, but it is it's not really like you have time to sit back and ponder your next move before you like select which card you should use. It's I think it's very fun. I've played a lot of Slay the Spire.
I think Darkest Dungeon 2 got slated for being less punishing, so maybe I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, I've heard it's different. I don't know if it's less punishing.
Yeah. I played it when it first came out, and I played
the second one.
Yeah, the second one. And again, maybe I just need to get back to it. I only played like 11 hours. I think like the kind of like the art style and just like some of the activities really threw me off and kind of turned me off of it, because like usually in the first Darkest Dungeon, you look at the map and you're like, ooh, Weald is a place that we need to go to. So you click on it, and then you're instantaneously at like the Weald as like a environment and location. The second you control the carriage and you have to avoid obstacles and stuff like that, and I'm just like, maybe I'm just me, and I'm slighted. But it reminded me a little bit of Subway Surfers. I was like, I don't really want to have to deal with that. So I think I just kind of dropped it. But
that is a strange collection of attributes that you've just pointed out there that exist within the sequel to Darkest Dungeon, like Subway Surfers.
Yeah, it was just like the idea that like you're avoiding obstacles and stuff like that, and I'm just like,
right.
I don't know. Maybe
the overworld is essentially like a mini game. That sounds
and like it wasn't bad. I think maybe if I try and give it a good earnest go, like in the next few months, I might come to like it. But I remember when I first started it was just like, I don't like this. And maybe it's because I really, really enjoyed the first Darkest Dungeon. And maybe I need to do some reflection on like my attitude towards change. But like, I was like, no, this isn't for me. And I haven't played it for 2 years, apparently, according to Steam. Yeah.
It's not you, it's them, Ben.
I for one, am happy to accept that reality. But yeah.
But what was both of you playing yesterday? It was very animated around. What did you pick up, Ben?
I've never felt more dumb in my life. Playing Book of Hours.
Oh, so you picked up Book of Hours after you played a bit of Cultist Simulator. Is that what happened?
No, Cultist Simulator. I wanted to play Cultist Simulator, but I was like, I don't need that ego check. So, Book of Hours was made by the same company and developer.
Yes.
So I bought it. I was like, I'm sure I will feel a little bit better. No. There were lots of small bits. Like, I think the best way to describe it is like, I didn't realize A, how interactive it was, and B, like how detailed things were. Because like one example that I'll give you is just like, you start off as like some person who's like fucking shipwrecked essentially, and like you're in the rain, you're in the rain, you're trying to find your way into like a Cornish town, and you can just like recover. All you've got to your name is literally a journal that is wet, and like you just need to find a place to like dry it off, right? And I think I came with the approach of like almost trying to do it as an RPG, where like everything will be open to me and like everything will be just like readily available, and people will be willing to give me their time and just like their energy to discuss things with me. But that wasn't the case. When I went into the town, the whole town, like, I'm not saying xenophobic per se, but they didn't exactly like new people, so they just wouldn't talk to me. So I had to go through the motion of like trying to find one person who like had like this kind of like had this sway of talking to people in the town and like starting to discuss with others. And then I got really, really lost on how to do things. So I was just like, I'm just going to do what I do in real life and just like work and make money. So I started just like telling people's fortunes for about like 8 days before I discovered that like I could hire people to unlock different places. And that's when the game started opening up. But like it gives you advice in a really subtle way. And I think I was just in the space where like I was not the subtlety was just missed, I think. And that's why I struggled a little bit. But it's genuinely a very, very fun game. I only have played about 3 hours so far, and there's so much more to do.
I've just purchased a bundle with Cultist Simulator and Book of Hours, even though
Easy peasy.
Mark didn't sell it to me very well at the beginning. It's kind of like a reading simulator. It's just like that.
I think you'll enjoy Cultist Simulator more, probably.
Right.
I'm finally getting the hang of how to play it. It's still kicking the shit out of me, but I'm getting it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the thing that panicked me most was just that, like, when I started seeing that I was like freezing in Book of Hours, I was like, oh no, it's like Cultist Simulator. I'm just gonna die and I'm gonna have to start all over again. That wasn't the case. So it's interesting, Iain, because like you mentioned this earlier, in terms of like Binding of Isaac versus Darkest Dungeon, where like the consequences just hit you like a fucking truck. And like I would say that is more of the case. And maybe I'm wrong, Mark, and maybe it's a skill issue. But I would say in Cultist Simulator, I found that like if I fucked around, I would find out very, very quickly.
Yeah.
But with Book of Hours, it's just like, oh, you're freezing. All right, have 10 more minutes. You're still freezing. Oh, that's okay. But like in Cultist Simulator, like if you do not find like someone to take care of your malady within a certain time, yeah. But again, it might be a skill issue type of thing. But
that's a fair assessment.